What really applies to my story is like, to become the overnight success, it only takes a lifetime of, of work. I started riding dirt bikes when I was 5 years old. My dad really, he loved motorcycles since day one, but, he couldn't afford to ride himself. I mean, ride, yes, but not to go and race. He could support me and my brother, so both me and my brother, we were into riding motorcycles since day one. We both got really good really quick, so we went from just having fun on the weekends to, competing in trials. So our thing was trials because where we are from, the city where we are from, it's really known for that annual big trials that happened there back in the day. So, it was me and my brother got really badly hurt. Like, he broke his elbow when he was 15 years old. He's 5 years older, so, I was still super young, and, it took him a couple years, before like several surgeries and stuff. So his time was kind of like, he was running out of time. So we focused on me, and, that's my story got pretty serious, when it comes to riding, since I was 10, 11 years old. But as I was 12-ish, that was when everything got really serious. I got invited to Spain, to come and test with the factory supported team. So, things started rolling, since then. So yeah, it was, like I said, it just took my whole youth to get ready to become an overnight success. I mean, I did compete in trials. I rode dirt bikes. We had the dirt bike at home, so I used to ride. I used to go with some, I didn't really do much riding with friends, but when I did ride some dirt bikes, So I even done a 6-day, in Poland back in the day. So I was familiar with dirt bikes, with riding motocross, and, it wasn't something new for me, but I wasn't never focused on that, right? So that kind of helped me a lot that day at Erzberg, the day you're talking about, 2007. I had issues with my team. I was always under contract since I was 12 years old, or 13 maybe, and that was basically the first time in my life, as long as I could remember, not having a contract with factory support ride, because things didn't work out at the end of the year with my previous team, and then I ended up on the private team, which wasn't really ready for the rider, to compete at the level I wanted. So we kind of parted ways halfway through that season, and that was the point that I had no commitment to no brand, which never happened before, in at least like 5-6 years before that point. And me and my friend who was supposed to race Erzberg, he got hurt before Erzberg, but he had his spot. He was a Red Bull athlete. He was a good, an established enduro rider, enduro GP guy in Europe. So we were actually sitting in the city center of Krakow, and I think we were having a meal and maybe having a beer. I don't even remember. And he goes like, "Hey, you heard of Erzberg?" I said, "Yep, it's happening this weekend, and I can't go, but I have a spot. You wanna go?" I'm like, "Yeah, why not?" So we were just, two friends having fun, and we went to Erzberg. I never walked the prologue track. I never seen anything on the track for Sundays for the main race. It was a weekend off for me. I didn't even know that you had to do that, So what happened is like, when it's a true story. So like we are sat on the start line, and we're warming up the motors, and the guy goes, kill the engines, and I thought like he's gonna brief us on something, and then the flag goes. I'm like, holy shit, what happened? Because I didn't know it was that engine start, so that was how unprepared I was coming in. From there, it's just, I started like going as far as I could for as long as I could, and then, like, no joke, at one point I'm like, I thought I was off the track because I was alone, because I was leading, which I didn't know. And then, I got to the checkpoint, and the guy is like, "Yeah, man, you're leading." And I'm like, "Oh, that's why I'm alone." So this is what I was like, I was trained for years to deliver results. This is when I said, "Oh, this is serious. It's time, the fun stays there, and right now we're going to try to win this race." And I did. like I said, the overnight success, I was familiar with signing contracts, with talking and choosing the bike and choosing the material. So it wasn't like, I was thrown into some environment that I wasn't familiar with. I was familiar with everything that was happening, just in a different discipline. So basically at that time I was already talking to a team that I was supposed to ride for trials the following year. So I almost had a deal that almost, it was there on the table, just waiting for the final for the final adjustments to it. So then the KTM thing, the whole enduro thing, the dirt bike thing came about, and it was a big decision, because I was one of the younger riders in the trial scene, being only 22 I think at the time. So hey, I really wanted to be a trials, a pro trials rider. But then on the other hand, I never won a world championship at trials till that point, and I kind of showed up at this race and I won. So maybe the universe is trying to point me in the right direction, right? So we had a lot of conversation with my family, with my brother, with my dad. We always stick together, and we still do till today. I always value their input when things are when I decide on things. And so I didn't say yes straight away. I got an offer from KTM. I got an offer from basically all the big brands, out there. So every single, manufacturer wanted me on board, which is awesome. Especially having a year like I had, when things, the year before, my team, we, split and this and that. So it was cool. It was something awesome. But then, it took me like a week, to make up my mind. And I said, let's do it. I think it's gonna work, and it worked. Yeah, I got to a point. It's not a secret for me. I love racing, but I also treat my racing as business, which I'm not afraid of saying, because it is true. At the end of the day, we love what we do, but at some point, you gotta, if you commit to it, you're not doing the other stuff that you could have done if you wouldn't be racing. So it's gotta be both at some point, So for me, I got to a point that I didn't enjoy racing anymore. I was at the point where I didn't have to race for a living anymore. And I thought, I was completely burnt out. I had a lot of success, before, when I said I was done, and I felt like I had enough. At this point, I thought that I was done forever, but I also knew that it might have been a break. But you cannot go and tell your sponsors, I need a break for a year or two or three, or maybe I'll never come back. So, I said I was done. But knowing that I can still win, which I did, I won my last race, it's kind of like leaving the door open for whatever is going to come later, right? But I really needed that, downtime, I was under pressure since I was 15 years old, so my head had enough, I needed a break. And it literally, after 6 or 7 months, I was ready to be back. But of absolutely not doing anything, but not only not doing anything, knowing that I don't have to do anything tomorrow, in a month, or even in a year, so that's the difference. That's a real downtime for your brain, because if I would say, hi, I'm taking a year off, it would be still there. Hey, next year you're racing January 7th, so you better start getting ready this day, because if not, it's going to be late. So, it was kind of for me I believe that year off gave me extra 5, 6, 7 years, into my career, which you think, when we're talking 20 years, dude, that's like 40%. It's pretty crazy. Johnny Walker moved to Andorra. He also got a place in Spain, so he was kind of like next door. So he was calling me every now and then, hey, you want to go and ride? And I was like, yeah, why not, right? I've got nothing to do anyway. So I kind of started going with him once a week. Then we started riding twice a week, and I said, hey, this is fun, and this and that. And then, at some point, the West thing, they presented the West series. And I'm like, dude, just, all the different off-road disciplines together. I was like, I think that might be fun. But that was it. I left it there. And then I think maybe 3-4 months in, when I was riding a little bit with Johnny and that, I thought I think at 32, I'm still young enough, you know, to try to do, you know, try to race the championship. And then, you know, and that's it. And like, I took another few weeks just to make sure that this is what I want to do. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And here we are 5 years later. Like the whole new perspective on everything, you know, winning is not everything. Being so focused for so long, like it takes a toll on you, but it takes a toll on you because the way you are, it's you put all that pressure on yourself by yourself, you know, and that's it. This is what you learn. Like, you know, it was definitely an important year of my life, you know. So I wouldn't say it changed me, because when I still go racing, I still go out there and try to do my best. It kind of changed the approach. Like I started like looking for a way, I wouldn't say to have more fun, but sometimes to not be as hard for, you know, on myself as I did in the past, maybe. I don't know. It's actually hard like to tell. It's just, I mean, something still super competitive, still want to go out there and win. But definitely, you know, I kind of, I don't know, I changed a little bit. I cannot even describe it. It's like, because if I would say I was more fun, you know, orientated when it comes to racing, it's not true, because I'm still super intense on race day. I think the perspective, you know, you just see things from a different angle, for sure.
I got an email, a guy called Oscar, claiming that he's an agent of Taddy Blazusiak. I was like, what kind of scam is this? Like, seriously, I literally almost put it in the trash box. Like, this can't be true. Like, an athlete who has an agent is contacting me. Like, no, false. Straightforward. Taddy Blazusiak is very interested riding for IRC. Straight up, that's what I was told. Like, and I asked Oscar, "Are you sure you're calling IRC? You need to double check. We are IRC Tire." Yeah, we're 100% sure I'm calling the right guy right now. Okay, so this is real. Yes, we're not joking. Met him at the Enduro cross, and I couldn't go to Taddy because I wasn't sure I should talk directly to the athlete, because I've been approached by the agent. So I didn't talk with him first round. Taddy told me afterwards, like, why didn't you come to me at the first round? So, yeah, I told him I didn't have the balls to go to you. But yeah, and we finally sit down and talked. Actually, it was Denver, and I didn't have a plan going Denver, but I was told through Oscar that Taddy really wants to talk with me, and so I booked a flight. I remember I booked a flight on Wednesday, flew out. First flight was 6 o'clock in the morning to Denver. Went in, talked to Taddy, came back home 11 o'clock. That conversation was mainly making sure Taddy is understanding that he's talking to IRC. Same thing with Oscar. But I shared the history of IRC, where we are, what we are aiming for, what we are capable, what we are not capable doing, especially not capable doing. So I wanted to make sure his expectation is achievable for us. And yeah, the words from Taddy was all positive, that he is understanding everything, and he told me, like, thank you for being so open and honest to me. And he said, let's talk more. Let's make this happen. And we are here.
There were few things, few factors, I would say, you know. So first of all, for me, I knew that you have a better product than people think you have. So that was the first thing. I knew it even before we did tests. So I never signed before I really, got a chance, to ride the tires. And then when I did, I just confirmed what I already knew. But then the decider was you guys being super committed to Endurocross. And for me, Endurocross, I built my success around Endurocross. Like Endurocross, Super Enduro, for me, was the most important discipline, in the world. Like for me, was my thing. So seeing your commitment to Endurocross was the biggest thing. I knew I really wanted to help the company that committed, to a sport that made me who I am. I think it's going to be a fun couple years, more than a couple years, a fun adventure for all of us, and we're still going to be, going as hard as we can on race day, but we're going to try to develop the best possible tire, for the guy who wants to have fun. Thanks for having me, guys, and let's do it.